Let's imagine your house is like a treasured family storybook. For years, you write new chapters, birthdays, celebrations, quiet weekends. Now, here's the big question. When your own story has ended, what's the simplest, safest way to pass that book on to the next generation? Should you rely on a will, or is it smarter to put your house in a trust? Today, we're going to walk through the differences between wills and trusts, especially for homeowners in Florida. We'll break down how each works, what happens when you pass away, and what it all means for your family. We'll also touch on Medicaid, the costs, and whether a trust is the right move for everyone, or just some folks. Let's start with the basics. What's a will, and what's a trust? A will is like an instruction manual. You write down who gets what after you're gone. It covers your home, your car, your money, and your special stuff. But here's the catch. In Florida, a will has to go through a legal process called probate. Probate is meant to make sure your debts are paid and your things get passed on the way you likely wanted. But it can take months, sometimes longer, and usually costs a lot of money and time in court. Your family would need to work with the court system, fill out lots of paperwork, and possibly hire a lawyer. A trust, on the other hand, is more like a suitcase you pack while you're still around. You take your house and put it in the suitcase, the trust. You decide who gets to open the suitcase later, your trustee and your beneficiaries. When you die, the suitcase stays packed and ready. Your family doesn't have to go through probate to get what's inside. The transfer is private, usually simple, and happens quickly. So why do so many people in Florida choose a trust for their house? Because a trust lets your family skip the long, public, sometimes expensive journey of probate. And in Florida, probate can eat up time and money, especially if your only big asset is your home. Let's look at trusts more closely. The most common type is a revocable living trust. Revocable means you're in charge. You can change the terms, add or remove property, or even tear the whole thing up while you're alive. You're usually the trustee while you're alive, so nothing really changes day to day. If you want to sell your house, you can. If you want to refinance, you can. After you pass away, the next person you named, the successor trustee, can step in and take care of things. Now, there's another kind called an irrevocable trust. With an irrevocable trust, you give up control. Once your house is in, you can't just change your mind and take it out. Some people use irrevocable trusts for very specific reasons, like Medicaid planning, but most folks who want flexibility stick with a revocable living trust. Let's talk about Medicaid, because this is a big concern for many families. Medicaid has a look-back period. If you move assets out of your name shortly before you need nursing home care, Medicaid might see that as you trying to hide money or property. Here's the key point for Florida. Putting your home in a revocable living trust does not protect it from Medicaid. The government will still treat those assets as yours. Only with certain types of irrevocable trusts, planned years ahead, can you sometimes shield property. So, if you're worried about nursing home costs or Medicaid, talk to a professional early so you know the risks and options. What about costs and timeframes? It's true that a trust often costs more upfront than a will. A simple will in Florida may cost a few $100s. A basic revocable living trust can cost anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500, sometimes more if your situation is complicated or requires extra planning. You may also have to pay a small fee to update your house title or change the title to your house so it's formally owned by your trust. But here's why many people choose a trust. It can save your family thousands later by avoiding probate fees, court costs, and months of waiting. With a will, court costs and legal fees can eat up a significant piece of your estate, especially if your biggest asset is your house. Let's use a simple story. Imagine your house is a toy train set. If you only have a will, when you pass, your kids and family have to show the instructions to the station manager, the court, before they can play with or take home the train set home. There's paperwork, permission slips, maybe waiting in line. With a trust, you give your kids a train set that's already approved, and they can play right away without going through the station manager. It's important to know sometimes a trust isn't for everyone. If you don't own a house, or if your accounts already have named beneficiaries, like life insurance or certain retirement accounts, and everything else is straightforward, a simple will may be just fine. For families with a single home and not much else, sometimes a well-written will, plus named beneficiaries on all accounts, keeps things simple and inexpensive. But if your house is your main asset, or if you have family members who might argue, or you want to keep things private and out of court, a trust can give you more control and peace of mind. There are also special situations. Let's say you worry about who inherits if you and your children pass together, or you think your loved one is struggling with addiction, or you want to protect young kids. A trust lets you write special instructions, hold on to the house, sell it if you want, wait until someone is old enough or healthy enough to manage money. Let's not forget about a backup plan. Even if you have a trust, you should have a will called a pour-over will. This is like a safety net. If you forget to move something into your trust, the pour-over will tells the court, "Put this leftover stuff into the trust now." It keeps your plan neat and tidy. In summary, wills are instructions, but they require the court's help. Trusts are suitcases you pack and lock so your family can open them easily later. For homeowners in Florida, putting your house in a trust is a way to avoid the delays, costs, and public nature of probate. It takes planning and might cost more upfront, but it can save your family time, money, and stress in the end. And if Medicaid planning is your concern, remember, most living trusts won't protect your house unless you set up an irrevocable trust ahead of time. Every family's storybook is different. The right choice depends on what you own, your family, and your own wishes. Sometimes taking the time to understand wills versus trusts is one of the best gifts you can give your loved ones. A smooth, simple path to the next chapter of your family's story. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you'll get updated whenever we upload new educational videos to empower people like you. Thanks for watching today.